canvascreative.co. What's going to happen with this one? I have high hopes. You get to see a fancy hero section element which has a video playing in the background. You can kind of explore around on it. Super cool as an effect. And yet I do have my questions on what's going to happen now. They do have text which can be selected, but the way they've done this is they've not only put a weird blurry drop shadow which makes everything look blurry, which would have been fine because you can read it for the most part, but also it makes me doubt whether I have blurry vision, which is a bad question if your users are all having that question. And also a very interesting third fact, did you know they didn't type this text out as canvas is an interactive design and something something? They actually took apart each of these text boxes, each of these alphabets of each word, and they've put it in separate boxes. Did you know that? Because I have a way of proving it. Canvas is an interactive, this kind of a double spacey thing only happens when you've taken apart each little box of alphabet and broken it apart and tried to artificially put all of these in, which might seem fine to you, but it's absolutely horrible when you start thinking about accessibility, because browsers, when they're trying to rank it in SEO, are not going to take Canvas as an interactive design and development studio and show it to Google. They're going to show to Google, to the web crawler, CANVAS, which is horrible, especially if this is how hard you're working on your site. Like, it's another level of horrible. And they do show you their case studies very quickly. The layout does repeat there very well, and you do get a bunch of elements which are taking their own scroll journey with parallax on the right side. It's great the fact that they've taken all of these elements, made them work together, but also very confusing now. Again, like the previous site, there is no clear explanation when we got into these about what's happening, how it's happening. I would have expected a simple line of what this project is, because people won't come into your world knowing what the Zero Motorcycles website is. They do want a single line, not very long, but a single line of explanation on what you did, how you did, why you did. And images and videos at some point will stop sufficing. And that's the concern that I have with this site and with the case study. I think finesse is definitely something they did lack here, which is why I am as shocked as I am. And they do get to a point where they're putting forward their strategy, design, development in a very clear fashion, but is it the most intriguing fashion UI wise? No. They do get user experience to a certain point, but that gets dropped off when browser SEO starts being the point of consideration. They do know how to make a UI, but whatever this weird grid is, it's very, very confusing, and I'm not even zooming in with any fancy browser zooms. So this is very, very unnerving to me. Even if you have a bunch of projects, wasn't there some way of putting it into like pagination? Because the way they've done this is very, very weird. I get the fact that they've tried to put in filters and then tried to do all, but the fact that they've just made these microscopically small and you can't even hover over one of them without this giant thing taking over and you're not able to see what's going on in the background is just horrible user experience. Again, very, very horrible. And you get to see the last thing that we did over here at the top get repeated, but also is it very pretty looking? No, because there is no color, there is no image, there is no icon, plain text, which gets boring quicker than you realize. Again, the effects that we were talking about in the hero section, they've taken all of these different alphabets, put them in the background instead of typing out user reviews. I have reasons to believe that they've put out USERRAVIWS, which will become a headache when Google starts to be the thing they want to rank themselves in. They've taken a bunch of these reviews, put them forward. They do keep on scrolling them in their own speed, and you can scroll along if you want to. I would have wanted to see a cursor hijack that said scroll me or something like that, especially when you hovered over these. For a brand that does this cursor hijack this hard, you would want to see that happen when you need to be able to scrolling these things. You had all the skills and yet you put the wrong skills in the wrong place, and now this has become confusion land. So that is my entire review for this site. You had all the skills, had all the elements, put the wrong thing in the wrong place, and now it's a very confusing site. Properly for feeling balanced and functional. At this point, I don't even know what is supposed to be read first, and they've tried to put in every single element, and yet it does not work out. I have to give this site a 2 out of 10 because yes, they tried to put in all the elements. This was a very, very cool effect. For the record, you could have put a weird video in the background and you can see it, but the way they've put in the frame is just very small for even being able to see anything at all. And this is a simple contact form that they've hijacked, put in a bunch of text, but the lack of icons, lack of color, lack of images just makes you disappointed at the entirety of this thing. You get to see another work section highlighting the same exact elements that they did before, and it's still very confusing because A, you can't hover over anything cleanly, B, when you do, you're not able to see anything else. This is genuinely difficult to understand. Canvas, 2 out of 10.